Hello, everyone. I'm Susan, a painter and the director of New Horizons, a refugee charity organization based in downtown Chicago. Today, I want to share a story about how jealousy within my own family led to betrayal and ultimately their downfall. The paintings looked breathtaking. My studio was bathed in the warm afternoon light, illuminating the vibrant canvases propped against the walls. "You've really outdone yourself this time," William said, wrapping his arms around my waist. His voice was soft but filled with pride. My fiancé had always been my biggest supporter, especially since I started combining my art with my charity work. "Thanks, babe," I replied, leaning into him. "I'm hoping these pieces will bring in good money at next month's fundraiser. The refuge housing project needs all the help it can get." "Speaking of the fundraiser," he began, his tone more serious, "your Aunt Lisa called earlier. She wants to know if she can handle the art auction section." I smiled at the mention of Aunt Lisa. After my mother passed away when I was 12, Lisa had stepped in as a mother figure. "That would be great. She's always been so supportive of my work." Before William could respond, the door to my studio swung open. "Hey there, superstar," my cousin Nancy's voice rang out, cutting through the calm. As usual, she walked in uninvited, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She gave the room a once-over, her lips curling into a faint smirk. "Still playing with paint while some of us have real jobs." "Running a charity organization is a real job, Nancy," I replied, trying to keep my voice neutral. Her remarks had been growing sharper ever since William proposed. "Oh please," she scoffed, rolling her eyes as she inspected her manicured nails. "We all know Daddy's connections got you that position." Before I could respond, Diana, my best friend and a local journalist, entered with Marcus, one of our major donors. The room immediately felt lighter. "Susan, the press release for the fundraiser is ready," Diana said, her enthusiasm contagious. "And Marcus has some amazing news. We're doubling our donation this quarter," Marcus announced, his genuine excitement a stark contrast to Nancy's forced smile. "Your work with the refugee families has been incredible." "Wow, Marcus, thank you so much," I said, my heart swelling with gratitude. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Nancy's expression darken. "Well, isn't this cozy?" Aunt Lisa's voice rang out as she entered, her designer handbag swinging casually. She gave me a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Susan, darling, I hope you're not overwhelming yourself with all this charity work. Your mother always worried about you taking on too much." "I'm doing just fine, Aunt Lisa. In fact, we're expanding our programs next month." "Of course you are," Nancy muttered under her breath. "Because everything always works out perfectly for precious Susan." Diana caught my eye, her look filled with concern. She'd been warning me about Nancy's increasingly hostile behavior, but I kept brushing it off. They were family, after all. "The fundraiser will be spectacular," William interjected, sensing the tension. "Susan's new collection alone should bring in substantial donations." "Oh yes, about that," Aunt Lisa said, her voice honeyed. "I have some wonderful contacts who might be interested in your work here. Why don't you let me handle the sales?" Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs in their eagerness to involve themselves in my art and the charity's finances. But sometimes, love blinds us to the truth about family. The whispers started a week later during a board meeting. As I entered the room, conversations stopped abruptly, replaced by wary glances. "Susan," one board member finally spoke up, clearing his throat, "is it true you've been redirecting donation funds for personal use?" "What?" My stomach dropped. "Absolutely not. Where did you hear that?" While he hesitated, Nancy mentioned some concerning transactions. My blood ran cold. Nancy had been helping with our bookkeeping recently, a favor I now deeply regretted. The accusations escalated during a donor meeting later that week. Aunt Lisa cleared her throat dramatically before speaking. "Perhaps we should discuss Susan's unconventional management style," she said, her tone dripping with feigned concern. "We can't have donors questioning where their money goes." "What exactly are you implying, Lisa?" Diana asked, her journalist instincts kicking in. "Oh, nothing, dear. Just that perhaps Susan isn't quite ready for such responsibility. Running a charity requires mature judgment." The final blow came during our largest fundraising event of the year. I was on stage presenting our annual achievements when the PowerPoint presentation abruptly switched to photos of me at college parties, personal, embarrassing snapshots I hadn't seen in years. I'm so sorry, everyone, Nancy gasped theatrically, rushing to the laptop. These must have gotten mixed up with the presentation files. How embarrassing for you, Susan. But Diana had seen it. She caught Nancy sabotaging the presentation earlier. I got it all on my phone, Diana whispered to me afterward. She deliberately switched the files. That evening, William came to me looking troubled. Susan, we need to talk, he began cautiously. Nancy showed me some messages. They're supposedly between you and Marcus. They're fake. I cut him off, my hands trembling. She's trying to destroy everything I've built. I know, William said, squeezing my hand reassuringly. I already spoke to Marcus. He showed me the real email threads. Nancy doctored everything. Later, as the last guest from the fundraiser left, Diana pulled me aside. I've been keeping records, she said, her tone low but firm. The rumors, the sabotage attempts, the fake evidence, all of it. Your aunt and cousin are systematically trying to ruin you. Why? I whispered, my voice breaking. Aunt Lisa practically raised me after Mom died. Diana's expression softened, but her words hit hard. Because you're everything Nancy wants to be, successful, loved, respected. And Lisa, she's always resented that you thrived despite your mother's death. She couldn't break you then, so she's trying now. I stood by my office window, the city lights blurring through my tears. The two women I trusted most, aside from my mother, had been plotting my downfall. But they didn't realize one thing. I wasn't as easy to break as they thought. I want copies of everything, I told Diana. It's time to stop playing nice. The engagement party was beautiful, a celebration of love and new beginnings. Guests mingled, showering me with compliments. For once, I felt at peace. Until I heard that voice. Well, Nancy slurred, stumbling into the room with Aunt Lisa trying to steady her. If it isn't the charitable fraud and her lawyer boy toy. You weren't invited, I said coldly. Leave. Not invited to my own cousin's engagement, after everything we've done for you. Nancy's voice rose hysterically, drawing the attention of the crowd. Everyone here thinks you're so perfect, don't they, Susan? That's enough, William said, stepping forward, but Nancy was on a roll. Did you all know she's been selling fake refugee stories to get your donations? And those paintings? Please, she couldn't even afford art school without my mother's help. As the room erupted in murmurs, Marcus discreetly approached me. Susan, I need to tell you something, he said gravely. Your aunt approached me last week. She suggested we bypass regulations with donations. She wanted me to funnel money through her personal accounts. My head was spinning when Diana burst through the door, her laptop in hand. Susan, you need to see this, she said urgently. She pulled up an online art auction site. There were my paintings, dozens of them, listed under Lisa's name, including pieces that had mysteriously disappeared from my studio. You can stealing my work, I said, turning to Lisa. Stealing is such an ugly word, dear, Lisa replied smoothly, her smile unfaltering. I was simply helping you reach a wider audience. After all, I've always been the one with the proper connections. Proper connections? Diana scoffed. You mean your black market art dealers? I got proof of every transaction. The room fell silent as Nancy, drunk and reckless, began to laugh. Oh please, she sneered. Who do you think gave her access to your studio? Little Miss Perfect Susan, always too trusting. Just like your dead mother. Something inside me snapped. Years of manipulation, gaslighting, and betrayal crystallized into perfect clarity. Get out, I said, my voice cold and unyielding. Both of you. Get out of my life. I'm done. You ungrateful little. Lisa began, but I cut her off. Ungrateful? I've spent years making excuses for your behavior, feeling obligated because you helped raise me. But now I see the truth. You never helped me. You used me. Every act of kindness was just another step in your manipulation. You'll regret this, Susan. Nancy spat, her face twisted with rage. Nobody walks away from family. You're not my family, not anymore. My real family is right here. People who support me, believe in me, and don't try to destroy me out of jealousy and greed. Security escorted them out as they screamed threats and accusations. I stood there shaking but resolute, surrounded by people who truly cared. I'm proud of you, William whispered, pulling me close. It's over now. But I knew it wasn't over. This was just the beginning of their downfall. 6 months later, my life had transformed. Diana's expose in the Chicago Tribune hit like a bombshell. prestigious charity directors exposed in major art theft ring. Your story is getting national attention, Susan. Diana beamed, showing me her phone. The art community is outraged. Turns out Lisa wasn't just stealing your work. She was part of a larger network of art thieves. The investigation revealed Lisa had been selling stolen artwork for years, using her refined tastes and social connections as cover. My paintings were just her latest venture. The IRS is particularly interested in her unreported income, William informed me over dinner. They're estimating hundreds of thousands in unpaid taxes. She's facing serious charges. Meanwhile, Nancy's attempts to seize control of my charity had spectacularly backfired. She'd approached our board members with doctored evidence of my misconduct. Diana's meticulous documentation left no room for doubt. Nancy's credibility was obliterated when I presented the board with proof of her sabotage. You should have seen her face, Marcus said, chuckling. She actually tried to claim she was working undercover to expose corruption. How did the board react? I asked, though I already knew the answer. They were disgusted, Marcus replied, especially when they saw the doctored financial records she tried to plant. She didn't realize we implemented blockchain tracking for all donations last year. The domino effect was spectacular. Nancy's employer quickly discovered her history of unethical behavior, including her attempts to frame me. They terminated her on the spot. Her reputation in Chicago's nonprofit sector crumbled overnight. Your cousin's been blacklisted from every major charity organization in the Midwest. Diana informed me later. Turns out people don't like hiring someone who tries to destroy humanitarian organizations for personal vengeance. Meanwhile, New Horizons thrived. The transparency and resilience we demonstrated in the face of attempted sabotage attracted unprecedented support. The refugee housing project is fully funded for the next 5 years, William announced proudly during our wedding rehearsal dinner. Your story inspired people, he continued. They want to support someone who stood up to corruption while staying true to their mission. My wedding day dawned on a perfect spring morning. The ceremony was everything my engagement party should have been, intimate, filled with genuine love and support. As Diana helped me with my veil, she leaned in with a mischievous grin. Did you hear about Lisa? No, what now? I asked, my curiosity piqued. She's facing 8 years for tax evasion and art theft. The judge was particularly appalled that she stole from her own niece's charity work. And Nancy? I couldn't resist asking. Living in Milwaukee with 3 roommates in a cramped studio apartment, Diana replied. Her father cut her off after the scandal tanked his business relationships. She's working retail now when she can keep a job. As we prepared to join the ceremony, Diana raised a toast. To Susan and William, she said warmly, and to real family, the ones we choose, who lift us up instead of tearing us down. My mother would have been proud, not just of my success, but of my strength in cutting off toxic people who mask their abuse as familial love. Today, New Horizons helps more refugees than ever. My art career is thriving, and I'm surrounded by genuine love and support. William extended his hand to me as the music began. Ready to dance, Mrs. Parker? More than ready, I replied with a radiant smile. Let's show them how real love wins.